Hey, this is Rob from Reason Prep. I've created a new resource for the SAT and the ACT that's freely available for download on my website. The link is in the description below. And I call this resource the Section Tracker. And here's the idea behind it. When you're doing practice questions or practice sections or even practice tests, doing the questions, of course, is important. That's the whole point. But really the most important part where you learn and improve is after you've done the test or the section, when you're going over those questions. You should be spending probably as much time, if not more in some ways, going over the questions you've done than compared to actually doing the questions in the first place. So you really want to put in your time in this process of reviewing the questions. That's where you learn. You don't learn doing questions in a test. Well, to a certain extent, you don't, right? The real learning occurs when you're actually going over it and figuring out your mistakes, figuring out where you can improve. So I created this resource to help you evaluate your sections after you've done them. The one I'm showing you here is for the SAT. There's also one for the ACT that you can get on the website too. I just want to show you how this works. So here's what it looks like. You enter in the test section that you're doing. So let's just pretend this comes from the Blue Book. I wrote the Blue Book, but you could write, May 2006, section 4, whatever you want to write, just for your own records. Here's where you can circle what kind of section it is. And then below you'll see I've got a little table here that goes up to 35. That's if you're doing a writing section. But if you're doing a 24 question section, like a reading, you can just cut off here. Where you keep track of, after you've done the section, you go over it, you figure out not just which ones you got right and wrong and omit, but why you got them right, wrong, and omitted. So, for example, in the column, if you get it right, there's 3 ways you can really get a question right. Number 1 is the okay column. So this is when you get it right, no questions, simple, done, no problems with it, right? So if you get a question in this box, you basically don't have to review it because you've got it down. And your goal over time is to get more of your questions in this column. The more you can get in the okay column, the stronger you're going to be. Then you can get a question right by guessing. So if you're down to A and B and you just randomly pick B, or you have a reason to pick B and you get it right, that's great. You got it right, but there's still more work to be done, right? So even if you get a question correct, it doesn't mean that you know the concept really well or you can't improve. So if you guess a question and get it right, you put it in this column. If you get a question right, but you still have a question about it, like is there a better way to do it? Is there a faster way to do it? Or any kind of question, any kind of follow-up, you'd put a check mark in this box here, right? So this is one where you're pretty much close to knowing what to do, but you like some more feedback or to think about it a little bit more. All right, so that's your right column. So how about the wrong? The first obvious way you could be wrong is that you have no idea what to do for the question, so you just kind of put something down, or you think you have an approach, but this is the really important wrong column, right? It's when you get something wrong, you don't have any idea how to do it. This is a very, very important column for you. The careless error column is when you get something wrong, but it's a silly mistake. You misread something, you drop a negative, you add wrong, right? So these are errors that are, not really errors because, they are errors, but they're not really super serious for review because you know how to do the question, you just made a mistake. Now, of course, you want to minimize these because you're giving away points with your careless errors, so you definitely want to see these be down to 0. And then finally, you can get one wrong if you guess. So like over here, if you get it right and guess, that's fine. If you get it wrong when you guess, you still, of course, need to figure out how to do the question. And then finally, if you omit. So you can omit because you have no idea how to do the question, just no idea where to start, can eliminate choices, so you'd put a check in this column. You can omit if you've run out of time, right? Let's say, you can see here in this fake section I made up, the last 3 questions I ran out of time. So I would put the check in these boxes to show that I ran out of time so that later I can see, okay, my pacing might have to improve. And then the last column is if you omitted for pacing. So this is if you did it on purpose, right? If you say, okay, in this math section, I'm going to complete 16 questions, so I have 4 to omit. That's fine. You just, omit the ones you have to omit, and that's, part of your pacing, so that's good. But you just mark it down here so that you know you omitted that for that particular reason. All right, so once you've categorized your questions, you can write the totals in the bottom here if you like. But really the important part comes now. Except for the OK column, every other column in this table is a question you have to review, right? It's a question that you've done something wrong or you have a place to improve. So your goal over the long term is to get as many of these questions in your practice sections into the OK column. The more you get into the OK column, the better you're going to be. This is why, if you get a bunch right, let's say you get 19 right, but they're scattered in these columns, that's not a very secure 18 right. Similarly, if you get 6 wrong, but 5 of them are in their careless error column, well, now okay, I'm doing well, I just have to be careful, pay more attention, focus more, watch out for silly mistakes. So this really helps you get beyond simply right, wrong, and omit, and really figure out how well you're doing, where to improve, where to focus your time. And this is where you want to do in every single section that you do, so that over time you move your check marks from these other columns into the OK column. And the more you do that consistently, that means you're going to get better at these sections. Okay, so there's one for the SAT you can download. There's one for the ACT as well. You can download at the link below. Members can also download it in the downloads area as well of the members section, but it's also available in the public area. So let me know if you have any questions on this or any requests, any changes I can make, and I'll talk to you soon.